Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Loving the Game. Welcome on this Freedom Day special that we've got today, and I've got a very special guest that's with me. He's quite involved in the sporting circles. He's a charity auctioneer, sports agent, a very knowledgeable gentleman when it comes to sport in general. Let me not waste any more time. Let's get Barney Girnun on the show. Hi, sir Barney. How are you doing?
Lekker, Jockey. Nice to be with you tonight. And as you said, a great Freedom Day. And my Freedom Day was made very special by that Supersport production, which
Oh,
started at
geez,
3:30 today.
that
And
was
I
so
must confess
awesome.
yeah, very emotional afternoon. And what a great job Supersport did. I mean, they put it
That
out
was
brilliantly.
unbelievable. I'm not sure if you know
Yeah,
this, but apparently they had to do. They made that in 4 days. That's literally how quickly they put that thing together. So I mean, hats off to the guys at Supersport. Yeah, geez, I was blown away. I was looking so forward to it, and I must say it far exceeded my expectations.
mine as well. I can't wait for the other one that's coming out, Chasing the Sun, I think they're calling it. That's
Yes,
going to be
yes, that
brilliant
is
as well.
correct. And I mean, just seeing some of the footage I think we saw today, it's going to be a crack. And I mean, it's a six-part documentary apparently.
Sure.
So yes, I tell you what, that's going to be a collector's item of note. And talking about
Correct.
that, I mean, let's just start things off by just if you can just tell us a little bit about who is Barney Girnun. What do you do these days? I mean, where did it all start for you, basically?
Okay, well, I actually come from a place called Urgis. I don't know if many people know where that comes, but Urgis is quite near Witbank and Middelburg in Mpumalanga. I
Yeah.
was born on a farm. My father's a Jewish farmer back in the day. And so I was born out in Urgis, and I went to an Afrikaans primary school, to Urgis Law School. And
Wow.
my mother's brother happened to be a very famous Springbok back in the day, Sid Nomus, who was a legendary Springbok. He played 25 consecutive Test matches without being dropped or injured for the Springboks, and was part of some great Springbok rugby teams from 1967 to 1972. And that's I developed a very, very big love for sports and rugby as well. But having this famous uncle, I took him very, very seriously, and I researched him, and I never missed a rugby game back in those days when I was a lightie. I never read comics, or I was only interested in reading newspapers and following the then Transvaal rugby team and the Springbok rugby team, and I became a fanatic in that particular way.
And Bonnie, just to touch on what do you currently do?
So I'm obviously 20 years ago, my partner Neil Jankolovitz and myself, we started a business called MSC. It's now MSC Sports. So we've been in the sports industry now for 20 years, and we broad
Wow.
based across the board. We, from managing players to running memorabilia and raising money for charity. As you said, I do emceeing, I do a lot of charity auctions, but we also look after some big corporate spends in the sporting industry and the marketing industry. You know, we look after, as an example, a company like Engen, all their sponsorships. We activate them with the RAM hand-to-hand couriers, Discovery. So basically, we make sure that all their spend in sport is managed in the right way, put in the right places, and
Yes.
obviously, we activate a lot of sponsorships in that regard. So we are a marketing agency, very much so.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
also got
Um,
with the digital side now as well.
oh, that's really cool. Tell
Yeah,
me, Bonnie, you mentioned that I mean your uncle played a big role in your love for sport and stuff.
yeah,
And I mean, obviously you said Sid Nomus. You mentioned Sid Nomus there, which is a a rugby legend in South Africa. I was fortunate
yeah,
enough to actually to meet him. I think it was 2015 by pure coincidence. We were in a box at Ellis Park, and the
yeah.
gentleman that owned the box called me out and said, "Listen, I want you to meet someone." And yeah, I mean, to my surprise, it was Sid Nomus. At that stage, I only ever heard of the name Sid Nomus. Have never really saw much of him, and I mean that it's quite a fond memory because one thing that I remember of meeting him was a very very what's the word he was a very pleasant man to meet and very friendly and kind. Like he treated me like he knew me forever, and it's so weird, I must say. And hats off. I was fortunate enough to have met you also before a few times, and I mean, it clearly runs in the family. Very generous people and kind.
I
So
wish I wish the rugby playing ability would have run in the family a bit more. I
yeah,
couldn't
that
run
would have
like
been
him,
awesome.
unfortunately.
That would have been really awesome. But
Yeah.
oh well, I mean, I think you've got a great job. And I mean, obviously, with all the fun comes all the hard work as well. But just tell me something. Where at what I mean, I know you said your uncle. I mean, how old were you when you really got into, like, I wanna play rugby and I want to play this or what? I know. I mean, I know you're a lover of sport in general. So I mean, we'll
Yeah.
get to what stands out the most for you. But clearly, rugby runs in the family.
Yeah, look, my first sporting memory was 1972. I was 6 years old. I'm giving my age away now. And that's when John Pullen's England team came here for one test match. And Piet Grayling was the Springbok captain. And it was Sid Nomus's final test match. He retired afterwards. And England beat them 18-9, I think, at Ellis Park. And then 1974, the British Lions that came here and gave us a puck sla. Willie
Yes.
John McBride team. That great
Yes.
team, Andy Irvine and J.J. Williams and Milligan and McGeechan and Bennett and Edwards and Cotton and Mighty Mouse McLachlan and Bobby Windsor, Gordon Brown, McBride, Fergus Slattery, Mervyn Davis, Andy Ripley. That team captured my imagination as well. And they came here. They beat every provincial team. They drank all our alcohol as well. They beat the Springboks in 3 tests in a row and drew the last one at Ellis Park. And they actually made the Springbok selectors panic in 1974 because they changed the team every single game. They made wholesale changes. They put a scrum half, an 8th man at scrum half, and some
Yes.
funny things happened. And I listened to every one of those games on the radio. And then in 1976, when the All Blacks came here under Andy Leslie with Brian Williams and Grant Batty, that team, Laurie Mains was in that team as well, and some great All Blacks, Ian Kirkpatrick, and that team, Andy Hayden. They came here in 1976, and we beat them 3-1, and that was Mornay du Plessis' Springboks, and Mornay became a hero of mine from that series in particular. But that Springbok team beat the All Blacks 3-1. Mornay was captain, and some great Springboks were in that team. One of my heroes, he died recently. It was a guy called Paul Bavel. He was a scrum half in that team,
That's
and
right. He
his
died
wife
last
was
week, if I'm not
Gerald
mistaken.
Bosch. So that was 1976, and then I became aware of, in the 80s, we started becoming aware of that we were living in an abnormal society in this country. And, we weren't going to see much sport until apartheid ended. And, thank goodness for that it did end eventually. And in 1990, when Madiba got released, and there came a whole new dimension to my sporting watching and my love, because now I could really love sport. I lived in a country which treated all its citizens properly. And the Springbok is now embraced around the world, and our cricket team is going to be back. And Bafana, we're going to play soccer again. So that really reinvigorated my life. And I'll never forget the 1992 Test match at Ellis Park, our first one back against
Yes.
the All Blacks, and then going to Newlands and getting clapped by Australia at Newlands. And in those days, I was really a big Transvaal rugby supporter. Now the Lions, and I never missed a training session. Every Tuesday night, I was at Eben Caleb Park at Rau in the cold weather, watching the then Transvaal and the now Lions practicing under Paul Pelser. Then Kit Christie took over in the early 90s. I used to go and watch guys like Querbus and that training. And they won the Currie Cup. And they really made me excited, that 1993 Transvaal team that won the Currie Cup.
Yes, man, that's so cool. Tell me, and then, I mean, at what stage? I mean, you said 20 years now that you started, that you've got MSC Sports, previously known just as MSC. And I mean, I know about MSC long before I got to know you, and eventually I got to know you, which was like, geez, wow. And I remember back in the day when I just discovered MSC, which I can't remember how it was because social media hasn't been around that long. But just seeing the stuff, I think it might have been on Facebook or whatever. But geez, the memorabilia that you guys started putting out was just like next level. How did that actually come about? The memorabilia.
Yeah. Well, Jockey, we started back in the year 2000 as a memorabilia company only. And by selling
Yes.
memorabilia, we used to raise money for charities because we used to have a reserve in our memorabilia. And then everything above the reserve on the auction would go to the charity. So I'm very proud that MSC Sports over 20 years has raised millions upon millions upon millions of rands for so many broad-based charities in this country. And it makes us very proud. We started as an exclusively memorabilia business.
Yes.
But you can't really, you got to grow in the world of sports, and you can't just be a memorabilia business. It's a nice little add-on. But then we found out we have to move into player management, which we did, and then we became a marketing agency. So we got a lot bigger from there, but we still do memorabilia to this day, and we're still very, very proud of the difference we do make to a lot of people's lives in this country by holding these auctions and presiding at their functions.
Tell me, Bonnie, from the memorabilia, I mean, it's 20 years. Obviously, I don't expect you to remember all of the pieces, but there must be a piece that stands out above all of them that you either sold or you guys never sold because it was just too valuable or whatever, that stands out that you
Wow.
remember.
So very interesting. I mean, I can tell you about some famous auctions that I've done for some big, I did, when Lance Armstrong had just won his 7th Tour de France, he came to this country, and I did his auction at the Sandton Convention Center.
Oh, wow.
There were 3,000 people in that room. They were fanatical about Armstrong. Every cyclist was there.
Yeah.
He bought a replica of his bike, which he signed. And he just, that night I saw adulation for a man I'd never seen before. And that was quite a big landmark for me. It was a massive auction. After that, I did the Williams sisters in an auction. I did an auction with Diana Ross, who was performing in Westlife, and Christina Aguilera. And, I had to sell a Porsche Bayarda, or a Lamborghini Bayarda, sorry. The reserve was 2.3 million was the reserve. Anything above that was got to charity, and the car was worth 2.7. So thank goodness I got over 2.3. I sold it for 2.7, which means the charity makes 400. And then when they went to sign up this person, there were 5,000 people at the Dome that night. 5,000 people.
Yeah.
When they went to sign up this lady who had been bidding, she was drunk and started crying and said, "Sorry, I can't do this."
Oh,
but there was a fellow sitting at the next table who heard what was going on and said, "Don't worry, come here, I'll take the car for that price." Thank goodness for that.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
I did Floyd Mayweather's auction when he was here as well, which was an entertaining evening. That was at Empress Palace. And there we got 350,000 Rand for a poster signed by him, just to start the auction. So that was another big one, another big famous one of mine. And obviously every auction I've ever done has always been a great cause behind it.
Yes.
So they give me great pleasure.
Yes, you've mentioned some crazy names there, and I'm following you on social media. I know you've actually got very close friends that are also big names in the sporting world. And I suppose it comes through the good work that you obviously do. In supporting great causes and stuff. And a lot of these guys obviously find appreciation in what you do. And through all of that, you've become great friends. And obviously through your years of player management and stuff. If I may ask, who are the kind of players that you currently manage?
No, we manage mainly footballers at the moment.
Okay.
We're talking about 99% of our clients. We in the football industry in this country, we've always been major football. The most part of our player management division has always been football. We've had a few cricketers over the years. Graham Smith for a while, Faf du Plessis for a while. But generally football. And I'm very proud to say I love South African football. I've watched a lot of games around this country. I've been all over the country to watch. Gavin Hunt is a great client of ours. He's been with us for 16 years, a great success story, what he's achieved. We've got Sean Bartlett as a coach at the moment as well. And we've had so many famous players over the years. Monique Josephs is one of my favorites we've ever had, the goalkeeper. But we've got a lot of players over the years, and we've got some great youngsters at the moment as well. And we just can't wait for this world to get back to semi-normal or close to normal again, so we can get out there and do our thing again. But at the moment, under John Wilson, who's our young advocate or attorney, our young attorney, he lives in Benoni, he's an ex-player. He runs our player management division and does a great job. And it is mainly football. Vernon Philander in cricket. But
Oh
yeah,
wow.
generally football, mainly
Yeah.
football.
Tell me, Bonnie. Sorry, I mean I'm jumping a little bit back here. How tough is the memorabilia game?
Very tough, but I mean, memorabilia game it's very tough, and at the moment it's obviously very, very tough because times are so hard. And gone are the days when people can just square their arms up at auctions and bid ridiculous amounts of money, and it was so easy. It's much
Yeah.
harder now. It really is. The
Yeah.
harder times get, you're not going to buy memorabilia really, and also the charities suffer from that as well. So my heart goes out to them, but it is tough.
Yes. See. Um. Just to I wanna just tickle your brain again. I mean, you've mentioned
Yeah,
what's his name, Mornay Duplessis. You mentioned Paul. Is it Bayfel? I
Babel.
mean, he passed away last week, if I'm not mistaken.
2 weeks ago,
Um,
yeah, last week.
yeah, I mean, I only got the name, when I saw that he had passed on and stuff. I actually don't really remember him or recall him
Mm.
that well. But I mean, those are players from back in the day. We all know a lot of, well, not all of us, but I mean, the older generation knows a lot of those names. In today's day and age, who stands out for you?
Well, listen, for me, this Springbok rugby team from last year, that stands out for me as the best because the makeup of the team,
Yeah,
first of all. Second of all, where they were 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, nowhere.
yeah,
The manner of their destruction of their opponents in the actual final, the biggest game of their lives, but to win by 20 points, score our
mm,
first 2 tries in World Cup finals is amazing. So this team, I can tell you, Rassi, for me, he stands out for me because,
yeah, yeah,
I know rugby teams, you need a great coach to have a great rugby team because a great coach puts in the great processes, picks the right players, not necessarily the best, the right players. And Rusty Erasmus has always got that right, whether it was winning the first Curry Cup for the Cheetahs since 1976, or whether it was
yeah,
going to Munchman doing such a great job. He's always had
yeah,
that knack. For me, Rusty's a giant. And he was a good player, Rusty. He was a great player, in fact. But he's turned out to be an even better coach. And for me,
yeah.
I mean, a guy like Andre Pollard, who I used to look after for a while. I had Andre for about 2 years when he first came to Pretoria. I looked after Andre.
Oh
And for
wow.
me, Andre's definitely going to be an iconic figure when his career is over. He's going to play a lot of test matches for South Africa, and he's going to do a lot of great things. He might be the next one to win 2 World Cups, I reckon, maybe. Good chance of Andre doing that. And then the
Yeah,
Springbok rugby team, for me, since we're back in world sport, they, Madiba saved the Springbok in 1995 and 94, and they really have performed unbelievably. They won 3 World Cups and 7 attempts, always up there, unite the country the whole time, get everyone behind them. They do great things for South Africa. They stand out a lot. In the world of cricket, Graham Smith stands out for me, as
yeah,
an iconic figure, great leader, not the best technique as a batsman, but someone who, when the chips were down and the runs were needed, particularly in that second innings, he always did it, Biff Smith. And he went through, he was made captain at the age of 22. He
mm,
started off, everyone was on his case, and he got a thumping in Australia, 4-5, whatever it was. And then he took everything from what he had learned and he turned himself into really one of the greatest test captains that's ever lived. And for me,
yes,
he stands out in a massive way. The other guys just stand out for me. I mean, if I look back, a guy like Mackay and Tini, who nearly got 400 test wickets, coming from where he came from, he
yeah,
stood out for me as well. As someone, a guy like Tia Khaleesi stands out for me big time. Look on your arm, what a rugby player he is.
yes,
And then Dwayne Vermeulen. I mean, Dwayne Vermeulen, for me, Dwayne Vermeulen's the other guy. He's one of the, for me, most important part of that World Cup. And look at his role he played on defense, how many turnovers he turned over. For me, Dwayne Vermeulen stands out as a giant for Springbok rugby as well.
yeah. I must say, a lot of the guys that I've spoken to over the last few weeks, the name Dwayne Vermeulen just keeps on popping up as the current favorite player for a lot of supporters and fans.
Yeah.
Um, yes, you've mentioned so many moments and stuff. Just to pick your brain a little bit more. I mean, over your long career of watching, or not career, but your life of watching sport,
Mm.
you've got a vast knowledge and experience of seeing good stuff and bad stuff. What is a one standout? Okay, besides the 3 World Cups that we've won, what is
Mm.
one standout moment that, whenever you think about it, you get that lack of feeling?
Easy, easy, easy. Now, let's say easy. I'll tell you what, there two. But obviously, the one is the 4-3-8 game. I mean,
Okay,
after the hell that I went through watching the Proteas at World Cups, and that day at the Wanderers, where chasing 434, my father said to me, "Let's get out of here. I'm embarrassed." And I
yeah,
said, "Let's just play for 1 hour and watch Graham Smith and Herschel Gibbs bat for an hour, then we can go." And to win that game, and the way it went out the last over and the last 9 down, and Mackay and Tini coming in to join, but Mark Boucher, and the shot that Tini hit down to third man, and then Boucher's temperament at the end, and that was the most remarkable win any sports team could ever have, because they chased it against Australia in a final.
yeah,
To chase 400 is not going to happen many times in the history of man, I can tell you. So there. Another one was 1996 African Cup of Nations. I mean,
yeah.
I was at that final. South
Wow.
Africa 2 Tunisia, mate. North, and my great mate Mark Williams scored both goals in the second half, and he tells the story so brilliantly. How he tried to get the crowd's attention that he wanted to go on, and then when he went, he took out his teeth and gave them to the team manager and ran on the field and united the nation the way he did. That great win of that 96 team also gave me a lot of pleasure. I must tell you, another great moment in our history.
Yes.
And I'm just going to deviate from those sports and also go to people like Wade van Niekerk beating Michael Johnston's 400-meter record, which was never going
Oh
to be
yeah.
broken. I
Oh
mean, what
yes.
Wade van Niekerk did is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Our 4x100-meter relay team swimming
Yeah.
in the 2004 Olympics, Ray Kneetling and his
Yes.
boys and Roland Schumann, what they did was also incredible. To beat the Yanks and the Americans, to win that gold medal is unbelievable achievement as well. Let's go to who won the Josiah Tawani winning the 96 marathon at the Atlanta Olympics. I mean, that's also unheard of. What he did from nowhere to win that marathon. I can remember watching him running in that day and thinking, wow, who is he? And look what he's done. So,
Yeah.
and from where he came from, all great moments, those,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we touched on it earlier on that show that Supersport did today was just. I mean, that was just next level, and I mean, yes. Apart from watching the final last year, I mean, this to me was just. I think tonight. I mean, you mentioned earlier, this what the Springboks have done since '95. By winning 3 World Cups, and every time it's just a matter of uniting the nation. I mean, after today, I actually feel sorry that show should have been on SABC. If anything, I mean, SuperSport
Yeah,
handed it to them for free, because
we
to
should.
me it felt better than winning the World Cup. Just hearing the stories around everything. I mean, and if anybody that watched it tonight doesn't feel the way they did after winning the World Cup last year, if not better, then you're clearly missing the point, because I
I tell
mean
you what
today was
captured my attention,
a proud
Marky. I tell you
moment.
what captured my attention today
Yeah,
was, when they lost their tarted proppers in the 3rd minute when Dane Coles
yeah,
had to come on. But we never saw the footage of Rassie in the box, in the coaching box, saying, someone downstairs, go and tell my pimpy, great carry. What a carry. Go and tell my pimpy now, great carry. You don't see or hear. That is privileged information. And that was unbelievable. That Rassie was making a point, obviously to Jock Nina, but you go and tell my pimpy. Then never mind the guy got injured by mistake. That was a great carry. And these
yeah.
are things that make great coaches, We saw things today we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and I think we're even gonna see more stuff when that documentary comes out.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, I wanted to ask you just now, but and I'm not, it's probably not a fair question, but if you had to compare Kitch Christie with Rassie, who would you go with?
Very difficult. Listen, let's be honest. Kid Christie was unbeaten, never lost a test match in his career. Kid
Yeah,
Christie was brought in to do a job. The job was to win the World Cup in 1995 when Louis Lake brought him in to replace
yeah,
Ian McIntosh. And what he did was also just remarkable. And the love that his players had for him
Yes.
was, my younger brother used to play for Wanderers here in Joburg. And he also played rugby for the Falcons, my younger brother. And he played, anyway, while he was playing for the Wanderers, Johnny, my younger brother Johnny, he came home one night and he said, geez, there's a new coach tonight at Wanderers. And he just looks like he's a bit special, this man. And who was it? It was Kit Christie. So
Oh,
Kit
wow.
Christie had a rapport with his players that's hard to beat. He never lost, and he brought him to do a job, and they did it. They beat that brilliant All Black team under Sean Fitzpatrick with Jonah Lomu. I mean, that was a great All Black team, one of the best ever. So, Kit Christie's an all-time coaching hero. Can't take anything away from him because he had something special. He might not have been technical like Russell or whatever, but he had something special in the man management category, obviously, and that worked. So both of them, they're both giants.
Yeah. I was actually saying now with this rugby, World Rugby elections going on. Well, I mean, the votes apparently were casted yesterday, and now we're going to have to wait until the 12th of May, apparently. So it's quite nervous times in the world of rugby in that regard, because I mean, either way, whichever way it goes, it's going to be interesting times. But I know leading up to yesterday, a few times on Twitter, I threw it out there. Yeah, it would be quite fun if Rassie could throw his hat in the name, because I mean, surely he could change things up properly. But I know it's not his game. Probably that he's more
Let
of a
him
coach.
stay here. Let him direct our rugby here. But I think
I would
Augustine
love him
Fischer,
to say,
you got the ex-Argentinian scrum off, the legend. He's a young gun, Augustine Fischer. And then you got the great Bull Beaumont. I mean, Bull Beaumont captain the 1980 Lions that came here. A legend of England and British rugby, a great man as well. We can't disrespect Bull Beaumont, but maybe it's time for the youngster, to take over. Who knows?
Yeah, and youngsters, new thinking and new ways and stuff. So, but it's going to be interesting either way, I suppose, because they both have heat on them. So I know that it's a matter of changing a lot of things for whoever comes in. You've mentioned now, all the things that have stand out to you, but what is that one heartbreak moment for you? You're probably going
Don't
to go
go there.
cricket.
1999 Cricket World Cup semi-final at Edgbaston, when Lance Krusner and Alan Donald got that last run very wrong. Well, I can tell you now, I nearly committed suicide that night. I nearly jumped out of my window. I was in a state my body had never been. I've never felt like that before. That's how fanatical I was. And I can tell you that I don't think I recovered from that. And then 4 years later, the World Cup's in our own country, right here. Sean Pollock, captain. And I go to Durban to watch that game against Sri Lanka. And I'm there when they get Duckworth Lewis wrong by one run. When Mark Boucher's told he doesn't have to run. And then I watched that rain come in. I know it's all over. Well, I collapsed in a heap. I can tell you. That's why that 4-3-8 game, for me, was a bit of a breaker. I needed something like that. But in Durban in 2003 World Cup, and Edgbaston, I wasn't there. I was here in Joburg. That 99 World Cup, after what Lance Krusner had done, I just think our cricket team have got it. They're unlucky.
Yeah.
In 1992, we came back so beautifully well. We took on the world, we beat them, and we lost in the semi-final to England when we could have won it because of rain. We needed 22 of 13 balls, and then we needed 22 of 1 ball or something. And that got us off to a psychologically bad start into World Cup finals or cricket finals, semi-finals, knockout games. 1996, we get done by the West Indies in the quarterfinal because Lara gets 100. We get done. And then 99, we saw what we saw. And then 2003. And then at just 2007, another whole, we lost in the semis to Australia in the West Indies. 2011 in India. And then in 2015, to lose to New Zealand in that semi-final, the way we did, just tells you that something's against us when it comes to World Cup cricket matches. Rugby, first World Cup in, win it, 1995. Then we're in the game. The Springboks now. And the Springboks going to win many Rugby World Cups, believe you me. But we started so well. There's a big vibe about Rugby World Cups. There's always been a good vibe about Springbok teams at Rugby World Cups. And therefore, we are so good at Rugby World Cups. We've won 3. New Zealand have won 3, but they've won 2 at home. And we won 2 away. We're the best team in World Cup history.
I agree with you 100%. And I think the fact that Rassie's staying, well, not staying on as the coach, but he's still in the mix, is giving us a very, very good chance to hopefully carry this on to the next 4 years and winning it and reclaiming it again. Well, not reclaiming, but holding on to the title for another year, which would be awesome. Because I mean, then at least we'll have four and we'll be the top of the world again.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, another
I
thing
was,
about the Springbok team, Jackie, one more thing about the Springbok team. I
yeah.
was privileged and lucky. I did the auction before they left for the World Cup at their farewell dinner
Oh,
in
okay.
at Monte Casino. So I did the auction that night, and I could just see that night. I know a few of the players, and I know Rusty quite well. I could just see that night. There's a wonderful vibe in the Springbok team. I really could see it. Happy team, happy team, happy results, and I could see it that particular night. As I walked around that room, I just saw a very happy sporting team, and look what happened.
Yeah, yes, see. Tell me, I mean, you're sharing quite a lot of nice stories. I was watching a chat that you were on the other night, and you were also sharing some stories
Yeah,
about your uncle, amongst other things. I mean, there was one story that had me in stitches. There was a story about Sid Nomus and Gert
yeah,
Miller.
Gerd Miller.
Yeah, that was.
Should I tell it again?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Well, it was in the late 60s in Transvaal. We were playing Western Province at Newlands. And the right wing for the Springbok rugby team was Sid Nomus, and the left wing was the big, fast, strong Gert Miller. But they were playing against each other that day because he was Western Province and Sid was Transvaal. Newlands, very wet. And the captain of Transvaal was Toy Danhauser, a lock forward who didn't speak English very well.
Yeah.
And in it was 10-9 to Transvaal, and Gerd Miller was herring down the left-hand touchline at Newlands in the last minutes. And on the corner flag, Sid Nomus tackled him, saved the try, saved the game. And Toy Danhauser, the captain of Transvaal, went up to Sid Nomus, picked him up and said, Nomus, fuck me, excuse the language, maar jy's die beste Jood, steer het Moses.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. I mean, listen, I mean, you know so many guys and stuff. Are there any other stories that you can share with us that that is not behind closed doors or something? I mean, just
No, I could tell you some great golf stories about a guy called Simon Hobday. He was another guy I admired a lot. Sadly, he passed on, but Simon Hobday, you obviously heard of Simon Hobday. One of the greatest characters that sports ever known, I reckon he was. And one day he was playing in a seniors. He won the US Senior Open actually, Simon Hobday, at Pinehurst. Unbelievable feat. But he was playing on that US tour, and he was late for his tee off time, and he was speeding down the highway in Arizona in America to make his time in a rental car. And waiting in the middle of the road was a big redneck American cop, and he stopped Hobday. And Hobday stopped his car, and the cop looked in. And Hobday put down his window, and the cop said to Hobday, well, I've been waiting all day for you. And Hobday said to him, well, I got you as quickly as possible. Eh? Yeah, that's Simon Hobday for you. Another great story. I did tell that story that I heard that Willie John McBride told us about 1968 against the Lions. He was a young gun, his first test, Tom Kiernan's Lions against the Springboks in 68. My uncle was playing. And how he was so nervous standing in the tunnel, narrow tunnel at Newlands, and they were standing next to the Springboks. And he thought, let me have a conversation with the nearest Springbok. And he tapped him on the shoulder. It was the late great Moff Myburg, Springbok tight head prop, on the biggest box ever. Also not great with English. And Willie John McBride said to him, Moff Myburg, he said, what a lovely, lush green paddock we're playing in. And Moff looked at him and said, I don't come here to graze.
Geez, I tell you what.
Another one of my mates is a guy called Kevin Peterson. KP is a mate of mine.
Yes,
and I really didn't like him. We didn't like him at all in this country. He left fair play, but he came here on his first tour and he was Windgat and he got 100 and he kissed his badge and we despised him. I actually didn't like him at all, and neither did the players. Okay. And here we are today. He's one of my best mates. Shows you how things change. And one thing I admire about him is after his career, he's come back to where he comes from, and he's made a difference there with his trying to save the rhino and his conservation things that he does. He really is fanatical about it. He does a lot of great work, and he's become great mates with all of us, with Mark Boucher as well. with Graham Smith, Callis, all big mates. So
Yes.
that's how sport bring people together as well. And I really do admire KP for what he does in this country now.
Yeah. If I may touch on that, where I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, you weren't a fan of him at all. You actually,
No,
well, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to use the word despise, but you didn't like him a lot. And now you guys
no.
are best friends, or, or one of your best friends at least.
Yeah.
What made this, what made that mind shift, or how did that come about where you could go from this guy is a complete prick to, you know what, he's actually a wonderful person?
I'll tell you why. We all went to the bush once. I bought the right to go on a trip with Boucher, Callis, Smith, Peterson on to go and dart rhinos and to put some chips into the rhinos and get their DNA in the fight against
Yeah.
the poaching of
Right.
rhinos. And I took my brother with me, and I just met KP. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. We had to get up very early, and he walked into our room, me and my brother, and said, "Oh, the Girnun brothers, I've made you each a cup of coffee." And I quite liked him for making me coffee at 5 in the morning. This superstar, he thought he was a superstar. And ever since that day, we got on quite well. Let me say.
Wow,
So yeah,
just a cup of
Jackie, I just
coffee.
want to go back. You said that I've got two uncles who played for the Springboks.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I obviously got to know my little boy, who's going to be 8 months now, 7.5 months, Jordan.
Yes.
So he's got two uncles who played for the Springboks. One is my uncle, Sinomus, and the other one is his mother, Romy Mentor. Her uncle, Alan Mentor, played for the Springboks in 1968 when they went to France in the same squad as Sinomus. And in 1968 Currie Cup final, Northern Transvaal beat Transvaal. Who won the game for Northern Transvaal? Alan Mentor, the fly half. And that's why he got picked for that tour in 1968 to France. So my boy Geordie has got Sinomus and Alan Mentor.
So that's a very interesting story you're telling me now. I mean, hopefully between the two of you, the genes will finally get together again, and we have another Springbok on the
Well, we need the
on the.
11th. They've been 10 to Springbok. We're hoping he's the next one, yeah.
But the interesting question is that is it your wife's uncle?
Not my wife. It's the mother of my kid.
Oh,
Her
sorry.
uncle.
So
So
I mean,
yeah, Romy
it was
Mentor.
her uncle.
Yeah.
So I mean, and he was a Northern Transvaal guy, and clearly, as you can see in the background, I'm a staunch Bull supporter, and I mean, you know that anyway.
Well, he won the Currie Cup final for you guys in 1968.
Yeah. So I mean, where will the lines be drawn once Jordan grows up? I mean, will he be a Lion supporter or will he be a Bull supporter?
I don't really care anymore. As long as he's a Springbok, it doesn't really matter for me. He can go play for Boland.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me, yes, I mean, you've got so many, you've met
I
so
mean,
many.
myself, when Jackie, I was a cricketer, so but
Yeah,
I had a cuck technique. I came from Urkies. I had a good eye, and I used
yeah.
to open the batting against guys like Clive Rice back in the day, and Stephen Jack and
Wow.
Richard Snell and Hugh Page. And as I said in the last show, Stephen Jack hit me on my jaw one day at
Yeah, that
150
was a great
k's an
story.
hour, and he really hurt me a lot. And it was the best bounce he's ever bowled in his life. And I was in hospital for 5 hours, and that sort of like told me, gee, the easier things to do than open the batting in cricket. I mean, you got to wake up early in the morning, go and bat against these oaks who are bowling fast. They're horrible
Yeah,
men. They want to kill you. They're bowling with a brand new ball. Surely, there's better things to do in sport than that.
yeah.
And that ended my cricket career, basically.
That's like I always say, every year when it's the comrades, then I always have this saying. It's like I can't understand why guys want to do that. I mean, there's a reason why cars were made. To drive to Durban or to Pietermaritzburg is way easier than having to run 89 kilometers or whatever it may be these
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
But yeah, I remember that story that you told. I mean, yes, I must say, I was. You had me in stitches about that. What 5 hours you were asleep or something, and yeah,
Well,
that was quite.
I was knocked out for a long time, but that was horrible. Nah. Thank God I never faced someone like Alan Donald. That would have really.
Yes,
I mean, he was that quick.
but
So
I think
yeah,
that
I mean,
shows you how much talent there is out there that doesn't even get discovered sometimes. Because I mean, I don't
well, I
know.
think my one thing, the difference between rugby and cricket or any other sport from cricket is the following: But if you're a batsman in cricket and you go get 100, 100, 100, 100, you got to get picked. You can be a
Yeah,
rugby player, and you can go have great game, great game, great game, but the selectors might not see you. And they might not think you had a great game. And they might not pick you. You understand? Unless you're the fly half who kicked every kick and kicked every drop kick and won the game. But in cricket, the weight of runs should get you into a team. Rugby, you might need the right person to see you doing the right
yeah,
thing at the right time, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, I've gathered that. I mean, also, I think in rugby, it sometimes comes down to, I don't want to say favoritism, but it basically does come down to that. Also, if any coach has guys that he favors above others, and it just, I suppose, it's a way of life. That's just how it works. But I mean, in cricket,
I must go back to the Bulls now. I'm going to go back to your, but I know you love the Bulls. I know you love the Bulls.
yeah,
But I'm really happy that Jake's coming to the Bulls now. Jake White's coming to the
I
Bulls now. I really feel it's good. I feel like it's a good match to that. So I'm thinking that Jake's going to be good at the Bulls, and they've got Mr. Rupert and Mr. Matepi as the owners there as well. And I'm sure they wanted a top coach, and I think they got a top coach. I know
I'm
Jake very well,
very
and I'm happy for him as well. And I hope he does well.
Yeah, no, look, I must say, I'm one of, ever since Jake, did what he did with the Springboks, I've always been a fan of Jake. I've never ever
Yeah,
thought, I think the only thing I ever didn't like about Jake, and that was not in his Springbok career, it was afterwards, was just the fact that things would go wrong or whatever the story would be behind the scenes, and then he'd leave halfway through, when the team started doing well. But the secret to it all was that wherever you went, the teams did well. The proof of the pudding was always there. It was never.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think anybody can ever doubt that whatever Jake does, he gets results. And for
yeah,
that
yeah.
fact alone, I am super super excited. I mean, I know I saw in the papers that Jake's already he's targeting the Curry Cup this year. Hopefully, we do have a Curry Cup. So, then at least the Bulls can have a better name this year. So someone chirped me yesterday or today, and I just said, yeah, but it was only, I mean, Super Rugby this year was only practice matches. So it doesn't count for anything because there's no Super Rugby in 2020 anyway. So,
Yeah.
but
Listen, the Bulls do need a few players. You need to get a few players back at the Bulls. I don't think the player pool at the moment has enough depth. I'm sure Jake will do that and target a few guys to bring them back. Get a few hard boys in there as well. And once he does that, I mean, I'd watch for the Bulls in the next year or two. Maybe not now.
yeah. I mean, it is early days, and depending on what this pandemic does, it will also hopefully it opens the door, if the Curry Cup does happen, that the Springboks can be allowed to play as well, because that would be, I think it will give the Curry Cup a super boost that it's needed for a long time already. Just out of interest, just to close off with,
Yeah.
if there's one wish, and I can probably imagine from what you've told me already, but if there's one sporting wish that you have, what would it be?
If there's one sporting wish that I had, first of all, it would be that we can play sport like we used to know sports, that we can come out of this and get big crowds at stadiums again, and hopefully beat this virus and make sport the thing that the why I love sport is the camaraderie and the fans and the vibe and the atmosphere. I would like that to be my first wish. Will be that we can, because at the end of the day, it's only a game, but
Yeah.
I hope the game can be played like it was played before, with the crowds, the big stadiums. That's my biggest wish. My other wish would be for the Protests to win a Cricket World Cup and to really, they've done everything else for me. Test cricket,
Yeah.
they've been unbelievable. They beat Australia in Australia time after time. We've dominated Australia in cricket for the last 2-3 years now, as you can see by the numbers. And I
Yeah.
mean, our cricket team, don't get me wrong, they have made me that Test cricket team of ours has been number one in the world for a long time under Graham Smith, if you recall. And they dominated. And they also beat England away, Australia away. And eventually they beat Australia here under Fuff as well, who did a great job. So, but
Yeah.
I'd just like us to win one Cricket World Cup. And I'd like our soccer team, Bafana, to have a great run in the World Cup and get into the knockout stages somewhere along the line. That would make me very happy.
Yeah, that would be quite cool if
Yeah,
Bafana can do something like that.
yeah.
Bonnie, thank you so much for sharing some time with us tonight. It's really nice to get get to know guys like you, that play a role in sport in South Africa. Because even though you're not seen on the TV and on the wherever it matters and stuff, I mean, guys like you do play a role at the end of the day. And I want to thank you for your time tonight. It's really been an honor to speak to you and just to get some stories and share some moments with you. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I mean, if anybody
Thank you,
wants to
Jock.
follow Barney, he's on Twitter at Barney Girnun. And I mean, have a look at what Barney does and see all the banter that him and Kevin Peterson has normally on the golf course. Hopefully, you get to beat Kevin soon one day, because
Yeah.
I know he's been tough on you. But
No, he's been beating me lately.
I really do appreciate your time, Barney. Thanks so much, man. I really, really appreciate
Bye,
it.
thank you, Jockey. What a great pleasure, my friend. Anytime you need me, I'll be back. Okay, thank you. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Barney. Have a lucky evening.
Cheers.